Alright, so most of the 2D stuff we see in games is done through 3D. So how we've done that, we've made our planks and we put our textures on them. And Painter, we've made custom textures which we could put into Painter and put them on our planks or whatever. But right now we're going to get into the more common way of use. Planks would be great if that's all we had to do, but we actually have to do it in another way. So something more complex like this needs to be what's called unwrapped. Basically, we need every polygon to be flat in one space so we can put a texture inside of it. So if I take a look at the unwrap on this and I open it up right here, you'll see what it looks like. It's basically every polygon that's in this is broken down into here. And if I do this, you can see that I've selected these faces. So we used to have to do it a lot differently. We used to actually break down the 3D object, do a wireframe, do a capture, and use that, and it always was a little off or whatever. But now we have this wonderful tool. So this wonderful tool allows us to take the object and paint inside of these areas if we export this out. So we can take it and say Tools and render it out, and then we'll say like Edges and 1024, render UV template, and basically we get this. What I call this, and what I've always called this, is a coloring book. Basically, you're coloring within the lines of the coloring book. This is how we used to do it in Photoshop. We take this, and here, let me open one in Photoshop like that. I do have it. And this is the exact same one. And I saved it as a targa because I separated out the alpha channel. If I look at my alpha, it's the exact same thing, but it's really cool because I can control-click on that alpha, Control-C to copy that alpha because it's going to select. When I do control-click on this channel, it will select all the white areas. Then I can go back to the RGB and Control-Shift-V, which is paste in place. That way I make sure it's in the same spot. So you can barely see it right there, so let me do this. Usually it is what we do. We do a fill layer underneath it, this, and there you go. So this is the coloring area, and this is just the layer underneath. So we would come up, make a new layer, and draw something like this in here. So now I've got a smiley face on it, right? Then we'd hide this, say save, and then we'll just call it test and export it out. And I know we've gone on with this a little bit, but it gets more detailed. It's the more complex your object gets. And then let me take it and put it on another object. Oh, this one's fine. And I'll come and open a material editor, and I'll throw this, which is the material that's on it. I'll come up here to diffuse, throw a bitmap. Don't worry about all this stuff. We're just getting to that point. Minecart test, and we'll say okay, and then we'll show it. Oops. So there's our smiley face, exactly where we planned it to be. Okay, so that's how we used to do it, and it still has to be unwrapped, and we still have to take the time to do it, and there's faster ways, and there's whole different opinions on how well it needs to be unwrapped. But the way we've done it I've already done it for you. I'm going to give you the FBX that goes with this. And then we also have one more thing we're going to do that helps us a lot when we look at it inside of something like Substance Painter, and that's called an ID channel. So there's a few ways to get ID channels. This is just the way that we used to do it, and it's easiest to understand. Basically, I took and put 7 materials onto this object and a different version of this object. Let me hide that one and look at this one. And we get our clown car, right? But there's 7 different materials. When I import this into Substance Painter, it's going to allow me to have controlled masks. So it's really cool, and I'll give you a copy of this FBX too with the materials all set up on it. So that's where we're going. Now we're going to go into Substance Painter and paint on it. And the first things we're going to do, though, is do some more geometry work. We're not going to jump right in and start doing textures. Even though they are textures, we're going to do physical textures like bump maps and stuff, and I'll explain why in a few minutes, but that's the best way to start for this option right here. So we're going to jump over to Substance Painter, and there's the cart already imported in. Again, all you do is say File, New, and then select whatever the FBX is. In this case, we'll do the cart base, and say OK. There it is. Okay, so we have this, and what we need to do first is figure out where we want to put the stuff. So we need to separate our material types, and maybe even material areas, into separate parts. We could do that with our mask layer, but I want to do it a little simpler for right now, just to get an idea of where we're going. So to do that, we're going to come inside of the display settings, drop down to the bottom of it, and you'll see this. When you see this pink, you know, or red, you'll know that it's the right one. You just show color on the wireframe, and you can turn it down or up or whatever you want. You can really turn it brighter, but I want to make sure that all of this stuff is the metal and all of this stuff is the wood right here. Wood. But right now, the first thing I want to do is take a look at this. I kind of wanted this more extruded out. So it's a big dance, and I may have done this the wrong way. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do the opposite, but let's see what we can get without using the mask stuff yet. We're going to get to that, but we're not going to use it yet. So I'm going to go ahead, and there's a couple things you can do. The easiest way to extrude stuff is using black and white, because it's a lot easier to understand where things are in and out if you look at black being subtractive and white being positive. So we're going to come in here and do a fill layer real quick, and we're going to turn off everything but the height map, because again, push in, pull out, pretty simple. And then we're going to go ahead and let's try pushing out and see what we get. So we're going to push out, and it looks like nothing's happened, and really because it doesn't change the geometry, but it's also because everything got pushed out. So the whole thing is pushed out. So what we really need to do is either put a mask that's black that we subtract what we don't want pushed out of it, or white that we subtract what we don't want pushed out of it, or white or black, which means that we just add what we want pushed out. I'm going to do the black because it's less. So then we come over to our famous polygon tool over here, our fill, and we click on this, make sure it's set to white up there, and we click on what we want to extrude out. And what I really was thinking when I did this was that these would all extrude out, and then I would do actually all the way up the line like this, like that, and then go all the way over on this one. So basically everything that's metal gets extruded. That's the easiest way to make them all feel extruded without making them feel like they're, broken in certain places. So, I mean, really, in a perfect world, I would extrude them all inside of max, So, but in this case, this works fine. We'll just, after the fact, you never know when you're going to get a model that's not built the way it needs to be, and you need to fix it without having to go into the model again. So, okay, so I'll speed this up so you can just watch me do it, and I'll be back after. Okay, so it's all fixed. Just a couple. It's hard sometimes. One of the things you need to make sure you're doing is moving your light around sometimes. Shift and right click, just to make sure you're looking at it right and catching all the angles and stuff for this and other things too. Okay, so now we've got it pretty well set up. And now we can name this one extrusion or metal extrusion, like that. Okay, so next we're going to make another layer. There's a couple things you could do at this point. We could say that we want to put our bolts and stuff in, and there's a couple ways to do that too. You can always use a black and white mask. A lot of people find that easier, but just so you understand how you can do it the other way, I'm going to do another blank layer, just a regular old layer. We're going to call this bolts, and then we're going to use a normal map for this one. It looks like I already set it up just for testing purposes, but here, I'll show you. You come over to hard surfaces and you turn on only the normal, and then you throw this into the map, And then now I'm stamping out little bolts. Not super crazy about that. Let's see about we want to kind of look how, see how this kind of looks iridescent? That means it's going out. That's just something you get used to seeing. So we'll just do this one then. Just go back to simple. And actually, you know what? Let's do something a little bit more. Let's try this one. Let's round it out one. Yeah, that's better. So let me give you a couple hints or understanding control of stuff. So if I just click and drag at this point, like this, it's going to give me this long thing. It's because there's no spacing. So if I come to the spacing and I pull it up, it usually goes to 400, but if you can also type in what you want. And I just happen to know it's 600. And I'm going to back that out and click from like right here to all the way past it because it needs to calculate it out. Look at that, perfect. Now, one of the problems with this is they're all perfectly squared. So that's a problem too. How do we fix that? You come down here and you say follow path, which is on, but you're going to say angle jitter, and we'll just do like, you know, that much here and then to there. And there you go. They're all a little bit different. Maybe that's not enough. So let's do 150. There to there. Yeah, they're different enough. And then I'll come up here and do the same thing there to there. And I'll do the rest of this on speed mode. And there you go. So, I mean, there's more we can do, and there's probably more I will do if I was feeling better, if you couldn't tell my voice. So, you know, have fun with it. Try and get something cool in here. Do some more stuff. I mean, I could probably do something like... do that. Let me see what that looks like. Okay, so I could probably do something, because this is outset right here. So I'll do it sideways a little bit. And then I'm going to turn it so it's 90 degrees. And then I'm going to make it bigger. Do something like that. That looks pretty interesting. And we can do something on that side. It's already done. And then, just because we're overlapping stuff. And then we can take this one. And you get the idea. Something like that. Something like that. And if I spent a little bit more time, we could probably find some really good fits. Like that's a pretty good fit if you ask me, for what we're doing. But anyway, so I'll see you in the next video.